For the first time in 11 weeks, we do not have a celebration Victory Monday show to give you guys today. Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show. As always, we are live here on DSM-Media's Philadelphia and YouTube channel. Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to follow us on Twitter. It's the best spot to be interactive with us throughout each day. And then check out the link tree in our bio. It'll take you to every social media platform we're on, as well as the YouTube channel, which is the best and only spot to get your thoughts and comments pulled up with us in each and every one of the live streams. So smash that subscribe button, like the video, share it with your friends, family, any other Philly sports fans that you know of. I'm one half your host, Dylan Davis. To my left today, my faithful co-host, Scotty. The Birds go down in Washington, 36-33. Jaden Daniels throws a touchdown pass with 6 seconds left. And we're going to talk about everything that went on in this game. I know, Martian, we are losers. That's what everyone else seems to be thinking now, which makes me feel a little crazy. We're going to dive into all of it. Also, I know it's kind of on the back of people's minds now that the Eagles did lose a game finally, but Dave Dombrowski woke up over the weekend. So at the end of the show, we are going to talk a little bit about the Phillies and their trade with the Marlins for pitcher Jesus Luzardo. It changed my tone from Friday's show, Scotty. I'll tell you that. Also, Joel Embiid did play Friday night and then decided to sit out on Saturday night where they got their teeth kicked in against the Cleveland Cavaliers, as we discussed. So if we have time, we can definitely talk about all that, Scotty. But my man, what is going on?
Yeah, somber Monday. Everything that it feels like I said on the show yesterday is what it would take for the Eagles to lose. Happened. So that's how it feels this morning. It feels like I called or caused some bad luck for the Birds yesterday with some of the things I said on the show. But at the end of the day, man, I think I'm more blown about the money that I lost betting on the Birds and betting on Jalen Hurts than the actual loss itself, because at the end of the day, this wasn't a bad loss. In my opinion, like, it just is what it is. Jalen Hurts goes down. You have Kenny Pickett at quarterback, and you almost won the game, right? You came to a close call. Obviously, there's some things we would like to have back. We'll get into those in this show. Of course, this is a venting session. We are losers. I'm not going to take that away from Martian. We did lose this game. And at the end of the day, we are 12-3 at this point, probably out of the 1 seed conversation. But maybe it's not all bad, right? Maybe that takes some pressure off the last couple weeks, and now you can just really start to hone in, get healthy, and start thinking about the postseason for real. So it's not all bad, man. I think the most annoying thing, aside from losing money, is just the Commander fans, dude. They're Cowboys fans now. That's what they are. They're cockroaches. They're the dirtiest kind. And they just really don't come out until your starting quarterback goes down and they win the game, right? And that's the funny part with these Commanders fans. That's the only reason I'm annoyed now. And at this point, bro, I'll go ahead and say this out front. I want to play them in the playoffs. I want them to come to the link, and I want to whoop that ass, man. I want to whoop that ass. Martian, I hope that you're joking, brother. I really do. I hope that you're joking. I hope that you're trolling there. The defense got 5 turnovers, bro. At the end of the day, you had Kenny Pickett going 3 and out after 3 and out. I will say this just before I forget about it. The dumbass Wildcat play in the red zone in 3rd and goal, bro. Like, come on. I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's what you're talking about?
The Saquon pass attempt. That was asinine. I don't care if it's Kenny Pickett, Tanner McKee, Gardner Minshew. It doesn't matter. You could do something better than that. At the end of the day, just run the football with Saquon Barkley if that's what you're going to do. But yeah, no, I'm not with putting the defense down today. At the end of the day, they were put in some really bad spots with some questionable at best penalties. You lose a guy like CGJ for what exact reason? Thrown out of the game for what? I don't understand. I thought you could clearly see an agenda by the NFL yesterday in that game. They had something. They had a goal in mind going into that game, And it ultimately played out just how I believe the NFL wanted it to. But yeah, let's get into it, man. Enough talking, generalistic and holistic about the experience. Let's get into the details, man, because
Well,
it was painful to say the least. Like at the end of the
for
game,
sure.
I was
I
in
mean,
it, and I
you had
wanted
a
to win.
13-point lead halfway into the fourth quarter with
Yeah.
with what Martian's talking about. Yeah, if not the best defense, a top 3 defense on the year on the other side of the ball for us. So it definitely does sting. You could just feel it happening with how quickly Washington was able to cross midfield and how much the clock just really didn't become a factor for them until those final like 2-ish plays. You obviously want them to expend a little bit more of that before they get into the red zone, right, and have a pretty good shot at the end zone. I do want to say I do feel like I'm going crazy hearing some of the media and like we were talking about before the show, the broadcast and the other fan base, because I don't know if we watch the same thing. I will say this, like, congratulations to the Commanders and their fans. Like, you won the game. You did beat the best team in football. You beat Kenny Pickett, and CJ gets ejected for talking, and Jordan Davis gets chop blocked and never returns, and Josh Sweat gets injured, and Darius Slay is banged up in and out of the game. It took all of that, plus the Eagles, to have their most undisciplined, but really were they that undisciplined? 9 penalties for over 90 total yards, the most they've had this year. Again, you're talking very weird behavior, very out there. So congratulations. It took all of those things to happen.
Yeah.
For you guys to win in the final 6 seconds. That's what it took. Congratulations. What I took away from this game, there are 2 major things, okay? A, which I want to talk about secondly, but it is that people better start understanding Jalen Hurts' performance, or importance, I should say, to this team. And what I mean by that is we hear all the excuses in the world. We hear about the roster and how you could just plug and play anybody in this roster. Scott, Chase Daniels could come off the television set and play with this roster because they're so loaded. Kenny Pickett was a former first-round pick from 2 years ago. He's a 2-year starter with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it wasn't good enough. Now I'll talk about Kenny Pickett in a little bit. Kenny Pickett wasn't bad. He wasn't atrocious, right? Yeah. Washington was able to sell out for the run. They shut down Saquon outside of that one long touchdown run. They were 3 for 16 and kicked 4 field goals after the first quarter in this ballgame. Yeah. So the offense got very, very stagnant.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing, and I think you see it on the other side of things, is, like that 4th and 11 where Jaden Daniels breaks off and goes for 30 yards.
Yeah.
Look at how Jalen Hurts started the game with his running,
Correct.
The open field that he was working with his legs. If he plays in this entire game, man, he's going to have a ton of opportunities like that. I saw Kenny Pickett get hawked down a couple times when he's trying to break off and run. So it's a completely different game.
Recovering, he throws the pick. Like, think about it this way, man. And it was very early on, but we get the ball, or we get a stop, we get the ball. Jalen marches down, we score a touchdown. We get a stop, we get the ball. We're marching down. Mind you, the one touchdown that the Kenny Pickett-led offense scored was him coming into the game at Washington's, 18-yard line. Okay? Yeah. After that, we kicked 4 field goals. So everyone keeps saying, you scored 33 points. You forced 5 turnovers. How bad was the offense, really? They kicked 4 field goals after this first quarter, man. They simply just weren't executing well enough with Kenny Pickett on the field. So Jalen Hurts' importance was definitely, or should be definitely, recognized in this ballgame. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that I take away from this, Scotty, is that the only thing in the Eagles' way is the Eagles. And what I mean by that is whether or not injuries occur, like you talked about in the pregame show yesterday, and we simply just don't have the talent that we should have on the field, or it's self-inflicted wounds. The Eagles are 12-3. They have 3 losses on the season. 2 of those, there are defining moments in. Yeah. 2 of those 3 losses, you can take a screenshot. You can take a still shot of this right here. And if 2 of their best, most reliable players just catch an open pass, they win the ballgame. If Devontae Smith catches that 3rd down pass, the game is over, point blank, period. So it took Jalen Hurts to get knocked out on the second drive of the game. It took Jordan Davis and Josh Sweat and company to get hurt. It took a phantom CJ Gardner-Johnson ejection. It took 9 penalties for 95 penalty yardage. And it took a Devontae Smith wide open drop for them to lose by 3 points on the road to Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
The only thing that I take away is that that gets in the Eagles' way is the Eagles, and you will not see Devontae Smith drop another pass like that again.
Yeah. And I want to throw in, Saquon had a drop as well, which, once again, very controversial, man. Laying on his back with the ball in his hands. Bobby Wagner comes and lays on top of him and knocks. I'm not sure how that works as an incomplete pass, but whatever, drop. And then A.J. Brown also had a drop as well that he could have brought in. Great play by Marchon Lattimore, of course, on that play. But we had some plays where if guys just finish, you still win this game. So I think that's where your point comes in true. At the end of the day, even with all of this accounted for, the Eagles still had plenty of opportunities to go and close out this game and win this football game. Yeah. They ultimately made too many self-inflicted wounds on top of
I completely forgot that Jake Elliott missed a 50-some yarder heading into halftime.
That's another thing from all the losses and even some of the wins where it was a little closer than what it should have been. Jake Elliott is an issue. And it sucks to say that because he's been so sturdy since he came to the Birds. But man, after this sample size of football that we've gotten, he's just not reliable, man. Obviously, anything 12 or not 12, but anything 50 yards and beyond is not trustworthy at all. He hasn't made one at all.
The 50-yarder that he hit, I believe it was the final one of the game to go up to 33.
And that one's barely,
I'm pretty sure, skimmed the inside of the upright.
Yeah.
So, and the one that he made before that was pushed to the right as well. So it's definitely something interesting. Martian, I don't know if you're actually upset.
For real?
Come on, man. Come on. Are you being serious? No one's I'm not. You're saying making excuses. I'm not making excuses for the defense. They gave up 22 points in the fourth quarter. That cannot happen. Are you going? But Tristan McCullum was playing in place of CJ Gardner-Johnson because he got ejected for talking. Jordan Davis never came back to the game. Those are real things. Tristan McCullum was playing safety. So yeah, it's an explanation. But and the other thing I just want to throw out there before we continue to talk about the game, I do want to come back to this comment from Bobby. We appreciate you, Bobby. 1,000%. It should have been flagged. But PSA, football team loses football game. It fucking happened. Forget all the reasons we're laying out there and the fact that they only lost in the final 6 seconds and they could have or should have won this game, whatever the case may be. This is the point about us sometimes, man, where it's there's a reason the Eagles had never won 10 straight games before this year in the history of the franchise. There's a reason teams don't go 17-0, 16-2, so 16-1 often. Teams lose football games. So, they win 10 straight, and now they lose in this fashion, missing their quarterback, missing a bunch of other pieces, and we're going to let the world start to crumble around us again? Right. We cannot let that happen on today's show.
Is this defense not good? Is this defense not a top-tier defense?
Right. Is that your takeaway after 1 week? Because what are you going to tell me? They let Jaden Daniels do that? Well, what did they let Lamar and Derrick Henry do? What did they let Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua do? What did they let Jaden Daniels do the first time they played each other?
Jaden Daniels had 3 turnovers, Martian.
What did they let Joe Burrow do?
What the fuck? He had 3 turnovers. If you have Jalen Hurts in this ball game, you don't think you run the ball for the rest of the fucking game? I don't understand how you can't understand how it correlates. It's not that 36 points were just given up by the defense.
Right.
There's a lot of context to add to this game, man.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad we played them. I'm not scared of Jaden Daniels, dude. Be for real. Be for real. I'm not fucking scared of the Commanders.
There was too much context in this game. That's the problem for me.
We were on the way to blowing them out.
Right.
blowing them out with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. Like, no, I'm not worried about the Commanders. They had 5 fucking turnovers.
In what?
Context matters, man. Like, I don't get it,
No,
dude. It's the same thing Dan Orlovsky and those guys are saying on First Take and shit this morning. It's annoying. It's my only annoyance from this game, honestly. It's not the loss, it's the reaction.
It's because I think we've talked about this on numerous occasions, and I think it always has to do with the Eagles. It shouldn't bother you. Other people shouldn't bother you, but it makes you feel crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm not even saying Martian. Like, I know Martian can fuck around and try and get under our skin a little bit. But like you said, like the Greg Olson tweeting back at Eagles fans and on the comments, like it makes you feel crazy because did these two things not watch the same exact thing everyone else did?
Like, I watched Jalen Hurts get knocked out of the game with a helmet-to-helmet. On the second drive, I watch a helmet-to-helmet knock Jalen Hurts, my quarterback, out of the game. And then the next drive, I watch Milton Williams get this phantom roughing the passer call.
For a push on the shoulder pad. That's
what makes me feel crazy.
And we're not naive. We recognize Jalen was not a passer, so there cannot be any roughing the passer. And I get it. He slid head first, and he was a runner, and he was going late.
Absolutely.
That was the definition of a targeting hit.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch the play, Jalen is basically already laying on his side, tackled by another commander before he comes in. Was it Frankie Louvu that did it? I forget who it was. Before
Frankie
he
Louvu,
comes in,
he's always doing it.
And
dirty ass team.
Leaves his feet basically, and where's he target, Scotty? Where he's got Jalen from the hips up, he can go at him. He's not still a moving target. He's on the ground already. Where can he go at him? He goes here. And then Greg Olson's getting on the thing and saying, well, he didn't hit him in the head. Yeah, his elbow doesn't come through and hit Jalen on the head. The rest of his fucking torso smashes Jalen on the back of the helmet and fucking pushes his head in the dirt. It was 1,000% a dirty, targeted hit that wasn't flagged. And the hypocrisy of it is, you're right. It's art. Don't throw the flag. Whatever. But to then turn around and flag an Eagle for pushing someone
and they score on that drive.
And then flag another Eagle for pushing someone on the shoulder pad who somehow
in a football game
has a 340
in a football game, dog. I just
somehow flag the dude who got punched in the fucking mouth right in front of you.
Yeah.
At minimum,
I will say this.
At minimum. I'm not saying CJ Gardner-Johnson shouldn't have been flagged because the ref was right there. He was probably saying some crazy shit. And yes, guys have been flagged for talking or saying some shit in front of a ref. The problem is, at minimum, that's an offsetting penalty. So just because he made fun of the dude doesn't mean he gets to get punched in the face in front of you. It was the culmination of the no call on the Jalen hit, which knocks our quarterback out of the game, which then in turn changes everything in the landscape of this game. And then you do everything else against the Eagles. Let's call it what it is. Keep it a buck. The game-winning touchdown pass. He scored when it matters, right? It's a false start.
Yeah.
I said it, and my stepdad said it. As the ball's being snapped, I didn't wait till after the touchdown pass was thrown. It snapped. I go, false start. No flags thrown. And then what do you know? Here it comes. It was, I just don't know, man. It was a culmination of all the calls going a certain way at a pivotal time.
This is ultimately why I'm so mad today. It's not the actual loss. Once again, it's partly the reaction, but it's also this. How can I predict the Eagles to win the Super Bowl if there is a game officiated like that in the playoffs? Like, if that's the Lions yesterday, if that's the goddamn Chiefs, there is not a shot in hell that the Eagles are winning that game the way it's officiated. So, that is my number one concern coming out of this. And I'm telling you, it causes deeper frustration because what this ultimately says for me, on this show, is that if this shit is fake, I'm sitting here getting all worked up every week for no goddamn reason. So it causes this inner complex for me of like, man, that looked like really, really slanted yesterday, what I was watching.
I'll tell you this stuff.
How do I move forward trusting the NFL to do what's right on a play-to-play basis?
There's no trust. There he is. I knew he'd come in here. I'm not even pulling up the comments. But what you just,
oh my God.
What you just said, and to Gint's comment here, is exactly what we're talking about when it comes to the Commanders and their fan base.
Yeah.
What did you just say? If we played who and it was officiated like that and Jalen was knocked out, we wouldn't have come fucking close, right? We would have got blown out, right?
Yeah.
What does that tell? Shouldn't that tell you all you need to know as a Commanders fan?
Absolutely.
Covering the Commanders? That you're not one of those teams? Yeah, you guys, like, I agree with Gint. You guys, like, watch in a fantasy land. I swear to God.
Like tunnel vision or something.
He made plays. Okay, Martian, cool. 5 touchdowns.
Oh, my God, dude.
But hold on. But see, timeout. And, you're tying Jay. I'm going to tie fucking Jalen into it. How many touchdowns Jalen Hurts have in the Super Bowl 2 years ago? How many touchdowns? 4 or 5? 5 total,
didn't matter,
right?
Man. That one fumble.
5 total. But Martian has commented about the fumble being the costly thing in the game. 5 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, 1 fumble. That's what that's what's talked about.
Dude, Brian Pumper is not an Eagles fan. Like that, this is the last I'm responding to that guy. Martian, please don't put yourself in that company. If you want to do that, you can get treated as such, but you're wilding right now, quite honestly. Give me a break, dude. You had 3 fucking turnovers yesterday. Are you fucking joking?
Yeah.
Like, are we being for real? Yeah. 3 turnovers in their own territory, and you think Jalen Hurts doesn't make a difference? Like, for real? Like, you're being disgusting, bro. Like, that's why my face is the way it is. Like, you're grossing me out.
Martian, right? Here's the thing about Martian.
God, man.
Like, Martian he's here all the time. He's obviously an Eagles fan and a Philly fan, and he gets frustrated a lot and goes through with us. So my point is, like, when you say we're pressed, shouldn't you be like you are too?
What does that even mean? Yeah, I'm pressed. I'm pressed on the Eagles winning. Yes,
Martian, I know you're being sarcastic. I know they wouldn't have won 44-6 if Jalen Hurts does not get knocked out of this game. The game's not close. The game's not. What was the energy like? What was the energy like, Scotty? Correct me if I'm wrong. On the first 2 drives, what happened to the Washington Commanders on offense? They got stuffed at midfield on a 4th down and then a turnover, right?
Yeah.
And on the first Eagles drive, we scored after the 4th down stop. And then Jalen was driving all the way down the field after the turnover. And then that was leading to a 14-0 game. What changed? Even though it still got to 14-0, what changed?
Right.
Because you see, my point is, if Jalen Hurts never gets knocked out and he throws the touchdown pass to A.J. Brown and it's a Jalen Hurts-led offense and the Commanders can't load the fucking box like they did against Saquon because Jalen Hurts is in the game, you think Washington's got any life to start to flirt back and get back in this game? You think Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense goes 3 for 16 on 3rd down conversions like Kenny Pickett did in this game? You think they only kick 4 field goals the rest of the game after the first quarter, essentially? Is that what you think? Because that's fine. I don't know what, like, I think he's being, I don't know. Like, yeah.
Yeah, because Kenny Pickett throws an interception on his 2nd drive. And Washington scores what? Their first points?
Appreciate you, Bobby, man. Appreciate you. Here Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. But no. I love this kid. Go ahead. You did this to me because I don't know when you're being serious or not now. Because like this I don't know, like if you're just trolling because of what you said before. That's the problem. You did this to me.
What I need from Martian, I need like a voice. Like I need to know you, Martian. Because when you start saying things like that, you turn into a troll to me again. And I know you better than a troll, if that makes sense. And I think that's why Martian gets to me a little bit more when he does it. Because I expect higher.
No,
from
know why he gets to me a little bit more? Because he's loyal. Okay, he's in here more than anybody, and he shows up all the time. So then when he does this little shit, there's definitely a world for some people. Yeah, there's definitely 1,000% a world where people would rather complain than just win. But
is that Pastor Rems in the comments?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there he is.
Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah,
Marshawn Lattimore.
Hell,
Awesome
yesterday. That was with Kenny Pickett throwing the ball against him too.
97 receiving yards, mind you. That's without the what 4 or 5 pass interference calls. So shout out to Marshawn Lattimore, the difference maker. I don't know, man. What let me ask you this. With all this being talked about, with all of this being talked about, bro, was there anything to Washington getting in the Eagles' heads a bit? Do you give any energy towards that?
No.
Just guys making uncharacteristic plays. Smitty dropping a pass. I don't know. Like the stuff that transpired did blow me a little bit, but you just reflect back and look at the game as a whole, and it's hard.
I go back to get like I'm being serious when I say this. Like there are people that are salivating over what Jaden Daniels did yesterday.
Yeah,
and I'm sitting here with this takeaway. This is my this is my biggest takeaway. He had 5 touchdowns. They scored 36 points against our defense. He beat us on the final drive. People are salivating over, and I'm taking away, give me this team in the link in the postseason. That is my takeaway because, again, man, if he doesn't get knocked out of the game, it's not a close ball game. It was en route to a blowout. And then you have Kenny Pickett come in, and I kind of forgot about that, Scotty, that he threw the pick on the second drive that he was in. Like you're just talking about all the momentum being sucked out of that building.
He looked like a robot,
and it mattered. And he made some
automatically throws, going there.
He had the touchdown pass to AJ. He had a couple big plays to Smitty and AJ where they would turn around and break tackles off a curl route or an out route or something like that, but. It was so clear and evident how different the offense got. It really did. Like, dude, Saquon finished with $150. How many yards do you think he really had? And what I mean by that is how many carries in the third and fourth quarter did he go for -2, -1, -3? Yeah. Saquon probably ran for $168 yesterday, but had 7 carries go for negative yardage.
That was another thing. That was another thing yesterday was, like, not to your point, obviously missing Jalen, but Dallas Goedert was missed yesterday as well, just with some of the blocking efforts by Grant Calcaterra.
Calcaterra was getting
oh, my God.
Bullied.
Oh, my God, dude. Like, that was a game where, okay, Dallas Goedert, even if he only has 3 catches in the game, that is where maybe you see a little bit of a difference as well, is just on those blocking schemes, those matchups on the outside, man. Dallas Goedert's not getting destroyed like that. But to your point, man, it was one of those games, and it almost, as we talk through this on the show here, because there's been moments of pause, there's been moments of argument already with some of the viewers. I've already gotten worked up and worked myself back down now. And here we are, man. This was kind of a game that was needed. We talked about the Panthers game and how that was kind of a loss and they needed to get a bad taste in their mouth and stuff like that before they get to the postseason. This was an actual loss. This was a bad taste in the mouth from all different angles, right? The refs, Jalen getting injured, if you think it's a dirty hit, I do, whatever. Jalen getting injured on a hit that really wasn't necessary in a sense. And then all the injuries on top of it. Yeah, there's a bad taste in their mouth. They're going to move forward. They're going to have things to look at. But also for the fan base, for any of the non-Jalenites out there, you get to see what the offense looks like with just so-and-so at quarterback, right? There's people that have been calling for, different quarterbacks to man this team. Well, you get to see what it looks like a week after Jalen goes out and exposes a Pittsburgh defense the way he did the week before, man. So you get the extreme opposites in back-to-back weeks where we didn't need to see that, Dylan. We didn't deserve that. We didn't deserve a game without Jalen at quarterback. But there's some Eagles fans out there that did deserve it, and they got to taste what that bad taste. They got to get that all up in their mouths yesterday. Pause.
Dude, trying to get over that comment. It did show me the importance of Jalen, because I think the funniest part about like this roster and the offense, right, and kind of a knock that people give Jalen is, what do some people want, Scotty? They just want more of a pure pass, more of a pocket passer, right? Just a guy who can stand in there and deliver a ball and whatever, right? But I think yesterday showed you the complete opposite of what this team's identity is and how he attributes to it. Because you got your pocket quarterback. I get it. You want a better pocket passer than Kenny Pickett. Hate to break it to you guys. There's not many better backup quarterbacks floating around the National Football League than a former first-round pick 2 years ago. But like, just the simple fact that the option was taken away, right? Like, it's not even that you just couldn't run the ball. It's that it was going to 2-6 every time, and there was no threat of otherwise. So
he couldn't pull it down.
It just changed everything. And I know Nick came out and said, he was asked, what do you change now? And he said nothing. And they did let Kenny sling it at times, and they still fed Saquon almost 30 times. Like, they stayed pretty balanced. I didn't really disagree with much that they were doing. But yeah, man, it 1000% showed you what Jalen Hurts does for this team, and that it's not just AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley and Devontae Smith, right? But the Smitty drop is going to haunt me. No, again, the season's not over yet, man. Shocking, I know. Still, we'll go 14-3, and we'll still hear question marks about this team. But it was definitely.
That's an interesting point you bring up, and that's something I've seen tossed around on X all morning, is just the identity of your backup quarterback and wanting it to match with Jalen Hurts and what he's able to do to an extent, right? And I think that's where those conversations in the offseason about Justin Fields or Kenny Pickett as a backup option, maybe you pay a little bit more to have Justin Fields as that backup option, but I think that would have looked a lot better yesterday. He's a lot more dynamic than a Kenny Pickett. He would have been able to use his legs. But what if whatever, at the end of the day, you don't want Jalen to be out in the first place. So, what do you think about, I said I wouldn't address Brian, but what do you think about some of his comments? Would you go in a different direction? Like, was Kenny Pickett that bad for you that you would go to Tanner McKee? I don't know enough about Tanner McKee to go that far, but
if I'm being 1000% honest, it wasn't too much of what Kenny Pickett was doing wrong.
Like, if Smitty catches the pass, we win the game. It was
self-inflicted wounds on top of Washington being able to change everything. Yeah. Like, you mentioned the Saquon drop. There's an AJ drop. If Smitty catches that pass, like, I think Pickett was 14 of 24. I mean, you're talking about 3 balls that should have been caught. So if Kenny Pickett goes 17 of 24 for 2-something and 2, like, you are talking about it differently. They win the game then. And I just keep going back to the fact that this is what I mean by I feel like I'm going fucking crazy hearing how people are viewing the Commanders now. If Devontae Smith catches the fucking football, the Commanders lose to Kenny Pickett at home.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's it. The line, that's the line. It ends there. The story's over. If he catches a wide open third down pass right here, the Washington
didn't even get hit.
lose at home to Kenneth Pickett.
Just so not even like Smitty, man.
Team is somehow. It's fucking crazy to me, dude. And it makes me feel insane. No, you don't go a different way. Kenny Pickett is a 2-year starter, former first-round pick. Tanner McKee is Tanner fucking McKee. Again, we talked about how Washington was able to change everything. Is Tanner McKee changing the fact that Saquon Barkley can't get loose more than Kenny Pickett is? No. So then what are we talking about? Is Tanner McKee just going to go out there and light the world on fire?
Right.
No. So then it changes nothing. What changed in this game is that outside of a 70-yard touchdown run, Saquon Barkley was held to like 2-point-some yards per carry in the second half against the Washington Commanders. That's it. And that's ultimately the difference. I think Kenny was 3 for 16 on third down conversions. That was never going to be good enough. I'm tired of hearing, oh, they scored 33 points. 14 of them were attributed to what Jalen Hurts did.
Yeah, and you did have the turnovers that gave you basically automatic field goals in certain instances, right? Where that should have been 7. Like, I get it. We got 3. That's great. And you have a 13-point lead going in to the fourth quarter, whatever. But it should have been more. You should have been up by 21, 30 points even. Was that off of the one
turnover? That was off of the Reed interception, right?
Almost. I think every turnover except for one of them ended up back in Washington territory. Right. Now, I could be wrong.
Exactly. But do you know what I mean? Think about that.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
4 of 5 turnovers result around midfield or in plus territory, and we came away with nothing or field goals. That should tell you everything.
How much of that do you take away from Kenny and maybe throw some of the blame to Nick/Kellen Moore? Just a little bit.
I don't know that I do. Like I don't remember the.
It's really just that Saquon pass.
That's it.
That was the one play that really stood out to me.
Just like, and I know that sounds crazy after saying they were stuffing the run, but seriously, you're at the 2.5 yard line. Just let him try to run the ball and mow somebody over if he has to.
Yeah.
Doing this whole jump pad, try to get it to Smitty, like just not too in that moment, but no, man. Also, let's not forget this. Nick got aggressive late in this game, and it worked. It worked, but
that's what I was going to ask. Do you think they should have gone for it after the Smitty drop? I've seen some different wantings for that.
No,
right?
No. At that point, it would have been what, 4th and 7, 4th and 8.
Was it? Yeah.
It was like 4th and medium to long, which I know they had gone for earlier in the drive, but they weren't in really good field goal range yet. And at that point, you're talking about Washington only needing a field goal versus needing a touchdown to beat you. Best defense in football, make it that touchdown score. So no, I don't do that. So,
see, I saw something about Fangio blitzing a ton yesterday, and Jaden Daniels was money against the blitz yesterday.
Yeah.
So it did seem like the Eagles did a couple different things, but I think you're forced to, in situations where CGJ goes down, Jordan Davis goes down, like. It makes you have to kind of step out of your game plan in a sense.
I mean, brother, there were points in times where I'm looking across the field and I'm seeing Tristan McCollum and Jalix Hunt and just a couple guys that just shouldn't be on the field for this defense right now. And just a lot of things, right? Like we talked about this just being a weird game like that and all the injuries and the penalties. And we talked about the Smitty catch. If he catches it, it's over. But even on the other side of the ball, guys that have been money all year long, making one mistake too many, right? Like Quinyon Mitchell finally gets beat in this game, right? Like it hasn't happened all year. He gets beat. Zach Bond, forcing turnovers in this game, money, should be a Pro Bowler. I don't know what Zach Bond did in the end zone. Like that dude's been money. If Zach Bond just makes the correct play, that pass never gets through in the back of the end zone.
Jamison Crowder, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, like just very, very weird stuff, man. And that's what you chalk it up as. Now, I will tell you this, and it's tough because you get the Cowboys at home and then you get the Giants at home, and these shouldn't be too difficult games, even though the Cowboys beat the Bucs last night, who have playoff aspirations. So again, it's not. That's my point. That's my point, though, man. Like, look at all these teams losing games around the league and we get crushed after missing our quarterback. But whatever. it's like how they respond after this. Come out and kick the dog shit out of the Cowboys next week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't leave any doubt in anyone's mind that this loss to Washington is having a little bit of a trickle-down effect, and it's going to have some layover, and now we're getting closer to the postseason, and there's stuff going wrong for the Eagles. No. You come out next week at home, you wrap up the division by kicking the dog shit out of Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. This past week goes away. It's a one-off. You miss Jalen, that's it. Don't let this, linger over. So the leaders of this team have to step up. Jalen hopefully gets through protocol midweek later on in the week and will be good to go. And we'll take care of business against Dallas. And then it becomes interesting, right? I think you monitor maybe what the Lions and Vikings then do. I believe the only way to the 1 seed is for the Vikings to lose this week. And then the Vikings beat the Lions and we win both. That's the route.
Yeah, because the Lions, I think they play in San Fran, but San Fran's eliminated now, so they're not gonna. They weren't gonna beat the Lions anyways. But
I only bring that up because if that doesn't happen, if Minnesota wins this week,
you don't play your starter.
You win this week, you rest up and you get ready for the postseason, and you take on that 2 seed.
Because after I said it yesterday on the pregame show, man, and I mentioned injuries being part of the reason that the Eagles could lose that game yesterday. You do not want to go to the Meadowlands, right, and be playing that team,
right,
in Week 18 and have something, God forbid, happen to Saquon or anybody else on that offense or defense. Quite honestly, you just can't afford it. So we'll see how this week goes ultimately, and I have a good feeling we'll probably be resting our starters Week 18.
Me too.
Which maybe it ends up being a better thing. I don't know. We'll see, man. At the end of the day, they should be able to refocus.
Minnesota to get the 1 seed.
Yeah,
I'd rather play in Minnesota than in Detroit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If we're able to get there, so. Yeah, that's it, man.
How does that work?
I
guess you wouldn't get them. We would get the worst of them. So we'd probably get the Commanders or
I
think we're in line for the Commanders right now, and that is the most likely first
and
round.
now with the Bucs loss, I think that it does. There's still 2 weeks to go. It doesn't solidify anything, but it definitely, let me just pull it up real quick, changes the landscape because all right, we have 2-7. Yeah. The Commanders have a 2-game lead over anybody else behind them, being the Bucs and the Seahawks.
So
the Packers, only other 2 teams allowed or eligible.
The Packers would have to lose 2 games to then be behind the Commanders.
Yeah, so the Packers are 10-4, Washington's 10-5. If the Packers lose tonight somehow to the Saints, which I'm not envisioning happening, so if they win tonight, then they'd have to lose next week. Commanders would have to win. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. But
give me the Commanders, man. Give me the Commanders. Give me Jaden Daniels. Give me the Commanders.
I would much rather play the Commanders than the Packers in the first round of the postseason. So 1,000%.
Yeah, I'm not begging for the Packers or the Bucs.
I agree. Said it earlier. The only thing, my takeaway from this game, the only thing that stands in the Eagles' way is the Eagles. They have 3 losses on the year, Scotty. Just to recap for everybody. If you take a picture of Saquon Barkley like this, dropping a pass, if you take a picture of Devontae Smith like this, dropping a pass, and then if you take a picture of just the field in Tampa Bay where they had no A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, or Lane Johnson, those are the 3 losses. So whether they just don't have their full team and they're in their way from injuries, or they're 2 of their best players are dropping an open pass to seal the deal. That's the 3 losses they have on the year, man.
Just makes me so salty this morning, but I will get over it. That left a bad taste in my mouth for sure. But like you said, it's not one to overreact. I think there's a couple commenters.
You know what else I was thinking about just now, though, man? Just how harsh I've been on Nick and how easy of a scapegoat he kind of has been to pick on and how unfair that kind of is, right? Because I'm thinking of what I just said and the 2 losses we're talking about to Atlanta and this. And in the Atlanta one, there was the argument. And we were kind of on different sides because even though I'm bringing up the Saquon drop, I still believe they should have just ran the fucking ball and then and/or go for it. So it wasn't as simple as just saying, oh, he needs to catch the ball. There were some other things that went into that loss as well, right? The decision to throw the ball and go for it, etc. In this one, it's just Smitty dropping it. And you had the likability of Smitty and how good he's been. And it's like, well, why aren't I freaking out at Devontae Smith like I did on Nick Sirianni in week 2? You know what I mean? So it's a little harsh at times being the head coach because we should be holding the players accountable and we should be pissed off that Devontae Smith dropped the ball. And instead I'm just like, well, that probably won't happen again. But if Nick Sirianni did something stupid, I'd be calling for his job this morning.
It is. It's one of those things where you just got to like pick a lane and be consistent with it almost, right? Like, because it's like if you're going to give Smitty the pass, you trust him to catch the next one. And it's the same thing with Sirianni. You trust him to make the right decision in the next one. And that's kind of what we've seen this season. He made a couple mistakes, questionable decisions early on in the season. And he's been able to kind of, I don't want to say right those wrongs, but just be better at the end of the day. You can't make up for past mistakes, but you can definitely be better than what you were yesterday. And I think that's ultimately what he's been doing this season.
We've been agreeing with Martian and Brian in the later route of this show. But I would not. No, I would not have gone for it. I could be wrong. I could be wrong on the down and on the distance. So I'm pretty sure it would have made like 4th and 7.
The argument that I saw, and I'm not saying I agree. I see the perspective. I see the point in it. The argument was just go for it right there. Either you get it, you can go and get 7 hopefully afterwards, and you obviously run off more time. It ends the game most likely, right?
Oh yeah, the game's over. The game is over.
But on top of it, if you don't get it, you leave the Commanders. They're only down 2, so maybe they are not playing with as much urgency, right? Like trying to get in the end zone. Maybe they just they're only trying to get 3 and the clock.
I don't buy into that. If you miss that field goal, you're gifting Washington the ball with over 2 minutes left at what? Our high 30s or 40-yard line. And I agree with D-Rad. This is why you take the field goal in this point in this situation. It's not one of those situations where, you made a 1-possession game, still a 1-possession game. You went from 4 to 7, whatever it is. It's like, no, you went from 2 to 5. And again, you need to trust your defense. I know they haven't been good in this one, but
the only argument, and I understand it's Kenny Pickett, and it changes the game completely. But it's one of those things where do I trust my offense or do I trust my defense more? And I do get it. I do get it because the defense has played up to an expectation this season. But I don't know, man. It's just like Smitty was wide open on the 3rd down play. Can we just get another play where a player is wide open and trust them to make that play? I don't know. I always side with the offense, but it is Kenny Pickett at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here in hindsight and say we made a mistake on that. It's one of those things. Like me personally, maybe I would have, but I'm just very highly confident in the offense.
So am I. Just I wasn't yesterday. That's the only I was, and I know he had a couple 4th down conversions on this drive specifically. There's no shot for me personally that I'm letting.
He put it in his lap on 3rd down. You know what I mean? Like
I agree, but now we're banking on someone getting wide open again on 4th and 7, and then the alternative is you don't get it, and Washington needs a field goal, and then I just think we are freaking the fuck out on Nick Sirianni if that is the case, and they lose the game on a 37-yard field goal attempt rather than a walk-off touchdown. A loss is a loss.
That's the downside. They might get the 1st down though, and they might just win the game, and I don't know. It's Kenny Pickett at the end of the day. We throw it out. If it's Jalen Hurts, probably not even in that situation.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
It's not a 1-possession game. None of that happens. So that's the biggest takeaway, man.
I think we just throw that one out, man. Throw it out. Yeah. Unless you're going to use it as motivation to go and dog Washington in the 1st round, throw it out.
Yeah.
Move on.
I can't wait for Jaden Daniels to come here. But with that said, dude, before we get out of here, the Phillies, Dave Dombrowski woke up a little bit, Scotty, on Sunday morning. Dave Dombrowski woke the fuck up. Brian, speaking of Brian, we're not the all-white squad anymore, Brian. Jesus Luzardo.
Just the hitters. Just the hitters.
Oh, we have Rojas. Don't forget about Johan.
I said hitters. No, this was a great move.
This is a humongous move, man. It's funny because people are going to hear what I'm about to say and be like, "Oh, great, here we go again with the injuries." He was injured last year. He didn't pitch a ton. I think he only pitched in 12 games or so. He had an elbow and lower back issue, I believe. But this kid is the real fucking deal. Lefty on the mound, gave us fits. You'll remember it from 2 short years ago, Scotty.
Yep.
Gave us fits, and I said it the other day to you when we were talking about a potential Garrett Crochet trade and how that went out the window. Where, look, you're still uberly talented, especially in the lineup, right? But are you ever going to put together a team that's going to outslug the Dodgers?
Yeah.
Or are you going to outslug? You know what I mean? So how can you try to be different? How can you try to compete with that? You put together the best fucking rotation in baseball. And that is 1,000% what this move did. And not only is Jesus Luzardo a fill, but Andrew Painter's coming up the pipeline and will be healthy this year. Like, it makes them so goddamn deep. Having the lefty mixed in there now as well, which obviously Ranger and is Sanchez? I always forget if Christopher Sanchez is a righty. I think he's a righty. I'm forgetting. But regardless, Ranger's a lefty. This dude don't want to talk Sixers. I'll get to them in a second for you. But Jesus Luzardo is a humongous deal for me, Scotty.
It's a summer, or not a summer, but a winter, I guess. Like it's a winter changer, right, for you. It changes your whole tone towards Dombrowski. It was a great move, man. We'll see how the lineup ultimately plays out, but this dude definitely has some heat, and he's only 27 years old. So if he performs well, you go ahead, you get him locked in for the coming years as well. So I think it's a move you make for right now, and hopefully he's good enough that you make it for the future as well, man. But yeah, finally get off your hands and make a move, man. And I think, what we could add one more guy, but it doesn't have to be as big of an addition now. You don't have to go out and get a Bregman or a Kyle Tucker. I know they weren't going to do that anyways, but you don't have to now. Right?
Bring me Nolan Arenado still, brother.
Get Alec Boehm off the team. There's a W.
I agree. If you go out, if your off season now is Jordan Romano, you kind of try to lock up that closer position consistently. Max Kepler, an everyday corner outfielder for you that can hit 20-plus home runs, hopefully, if he's healthy. And now Jesus Luzardo packed in the middle of this already stacked rotation. And then you add one more guy, right? That's what will win you, or win me over, at least for now, in the offseason, and say, all right, Dombrowski didn't just sleepwalk his way through and try to run it back, because adding a guy like Luzardo changes all of that. There is no quote-unquote running it back when this dude's in the middle of your rotation. It's that big of a difference maker for me, man. So I am excited, to say the least. Like, just thinking, man, like just Wheeler, Nola, Luzardo, Sanchez, whatever they decide to do with it. Teams are going to be in hell. That's all I can say. There's no more Taiwan Walker starts. There's no more bullpen games. None of it. So I'm excited about it. But to Martian's point, before we get out of here, dude, the Sixers had 2 games over the weekend, and it went exactly how we thought it would go. They did exactly what we predicted they would do on Friday afternoon show, and I'm just not having any of it. And I'm being quite honest with you, man. Like, I don't care that he dropped 30 plus on Friday night. I don't care how good he looked. I don't care that they went 4-0 against the Hornets this year. I simply don't care. It's the optics of it for me. It's the fact that it was so predictable how you and I discussed it, and then it's 1,000% what they decided to do. Not only do they win that game against the Hornets, and not in blowout fashion either. I know they got up early on the Hornets, but whatever. and then you come out and you don't lose to the Cavs, you get dog walked. Why do you get dog walked? Because your best player decided to play against the Hornets instead of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And don't tell me this is a coach's decision. This was an organization type of thing. What would be the difference? They're playing Friday, Saturday. There is no difference. There's no rhyme or reason why you picked the Hornets game over the Cleveland Cavaliers game. So to me, that is bullshit, dude. It is 1,000% bullshit. I don't care if he dropped fucking 45 against the Hornets if he wanted to. I do not care.
We talked about this on Friday, Brian. This is one where we will side with you. It makes zero sense. The only thing, and once again, this is a very light reason why it's not an acceptable one, but they play at home against the Hornets, then go on the road against Cleveland, and then come back home against the Spurs tonight. So maybe it's that you don't want to take them on the road. It doesn't matter. From my perspective, I believe this is yours as well, Dylan. I don't want to speak for you. But from my perspective, you can win Friday without Joel Embiid. So if you're going into the situation looking at it from let's win as many games as possible, you sit him against Charlotte, you play him against Cleveland, you can beat Charlotte without him, you can maybe beat Cleveland with him. I don't know. Maybe you can, but you have a much, much better shot at beating them with him. So it is that was definitely disheartening, man. I don't know if that is a Joel thing. I don't know if that's a Sixers thing. I don't really care like which it is. It is what it is. And I think this is where you got people at in the season, man. It's not that we don't even want to talk about them. It's more that they're not worth talking about. Like they're not doing the right things to go towards winning. Like Joel doesn't play on Saturday, but brother, like the comment about PG, like I'm not trying to like talk him into being washed, but 11 points against the Cavs with no Joel, 1 for 7 from the 3, or 1 for 4, 4 for 12 from the field. And mind you, when you're watching, bro, like I'm not trying to get to this point already, but like
I know.
When he's driving in the lane and he goes in the air and he just throws the ball and it's a fucking turnover.
He's done it so much.
It's almost like Maxi's copying him too, and he's doing it more now. He's going into double teams and throwing the ball away. And then Caleb Martin goes into a double team and throws the ball away. It's like, what the hell are we doing? And like, yeah, if this is how Paul George is going to play the way he's played the last 2 games, yeah, he might be fucking washed. He might be. Which is crazy.
It sucks and it hurts, and I'm not trying to go that far as well. But they're 4-0 on the year against the Charlotte fucking Hornets, and they're 5-19 against the rest of the league. And you're sitting here deciding to play against the team you know you can beat without you, and then going on the road to play one of the top teams in the East and one of the top teams in the league to start the year, and you're deciding to sit out that game when your teammates fucking need you. I don't care if it's Joel, the organization, the doctor. There's no reasoning.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell? What part of the plan of that makes sense?
Yeah.
What part of the plan? There's nothing.
And what? You going to come out tonight, play dumb hard against the Spurs?
Tonight, the Spurs at home? Fucking
and
cool.
You're going to come out, what, drop 30 plus tonight, and then come out and drop, what, 20 on bad shooting against the Celtics on Christmas Day?
Yeah, or maybe he won't even play, Scotty.
Maybe he won't.
Play. I'm not
trying to take it that far.
I was going to take it too far.
But
I shouldn't take it this far. So I'm going to bite my tongue on what I was about to say.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. If they were trying to ask it the right way, because it just feels like a hell no to the answer.
I just meant to hold on.
The Celtics on Christmas Day, is there anything they can do to impress you or maybe get you somewhat back in from an energy standpoint?
I mean, look, if
they go out there and beat the Celtics on Christmas Day,
Maxey and Paul George play together and they all play well and they beat the Celtics in Boston on Christmas Day, it is something you can look to and point and go, yeah, man, when these 3 play together, this is the vision. The problem is they need to start fucking playing together for positioning in the postseason.
Yeah.
Because right now, like, I'm sorry, dude.
And I'm not saying they're beating the Celtics, by the way.
No, me
I
neither.
don't think it's happening.
They're not going to. But my point is this, man. We're sitting here, the goal is just to get Joel to the playoffs healthy. No, that's not just the fucking goal, because it means nothing to me if you're a play-in team to win the 8th seed and then play Boston in the first round. You will go home in 4 or 5. That's not like everyone just keeps saying that. Oh, just get to the playoffs. Just get to the playoffs. Look at this roster. For what? For Paul George to go 4 for 13? For Joel to have an off night? No, that's not. The goal is to get there healthy, and also, I'm not saying be a top 3 or 4 seed, Scotty, but position yourself somewhere, man, where you are favored in the first fucking round at least.
Brother, even with how this season has gone. Now, I take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, Joel's missed most of the season. I'm just looking at Milwaukee and I'm thinking, like, I'm connecting the dots and I'm thinking about Nick Nurse. Where are you at with Nick Nurse, like, right now as well? Like, obviously, Joel's in the doghouse right now. Paul George in the doghouse. Caleb Martin in the doghouse. Maxey, he's been looking better. He's working his way out from a shooting standpoint, but still from an expectation standpoint, somewhat in the doghouse. Nick Nurse.
I'm going to keep it 100% with you. I have been so drawn out on this team right now that I haven't even paid close enough attention night to night to dive into what he's doing rotation-wise, minutes, etc. And the injuries, man. Like, you're missing McCain. Like, you don't have Joel. Like, things change, and it's not 1,000% fair. But again, like, what do we talk about with Mike McDaniel on Turf Talk? What do you do to help? You're missing your quarterback. You're missing whatever. What do you do? What are you changing? What are you fixing? What are you adjusting? And it's like, what is he helping? In this?
Joel's been out, but like, you've lost games against like the Magic without Paolo, and you've lost games against the Pistons. The Nets, the Clippers, like getting blown out by the Clippers. Like,
don't forget that Raptors game, like the 3rd game of the season.
The Raptors without all of their starting lineup and maybe even some of their bench players. Like, there's some inexcusable losses mixed in there as well, where, to your point, like, what do you do positively for this team? And then I look at Doc Rivers, man, where the Bucks, and I'm not like sitting here patting Doc Rivers on the back. I'm just looking at him in comparison to what we have now. The Bucks started horribly, and now they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're in the top 5 of the Eastern Conference. Giannis is playing at a high level. Obviously, he has Giannis. That's the big X factor. But I don't know, man. I just look around this team and I think, like, they're obviously not healthy enough. They obviously have some guys that have been disappointing, but are they that bad? Like, they're that bad without Embiid? Even without Embiid, they're that bad?
Well, Scotty, that's part of the problem when we're talking about Paul George, right? Because what was the other thing from Paul George? It's not just what he can do with Joel and Maxey.
Whenever
it's the
he's
fact
not
that
there.
They have another star that can help take the weight off of Joel when he needs nights off. Clearly, that's not fucking working either.
Man, this one hurts too.
It happens every time.
It does. It does happen every fucking time, man.
We always, and listen, Harden wasn't going to be here. He forced, like, I'm not just saying we moved on from James Harden for Paul George in the future, but my thing, like, do we always just think the grass is greener because we're not getting the job done? Like, we're not getting the job done with Joel, with Jimmy, so the grass has to be greener, and we're not getting the job done with Harden, so the grass has to be greener. And then we see what Jimmy goes to Miami and takes them to a finals or two. Harden looks way better at this point of his career than Paul George does right now. It's just
crazy. It's crazy.
I don't want to take it too far. I still, in deep down in my core, I have so much hope for this team if they can just be fully healthy. You know what the problem is?
I want it to happen.
I'm tired of saying that, and it's not fair to the 7-footer that his face got broken again. Basically, it's not fair that he has this knee issue and he's 7 feet, 270 pounds, and his body doesn't hold up like the rest of us. It's not fair. I'm just tired of talking about it year after year. And if we're being a buck, it just keeps getting worse. This is the worst it's ever been since he started playing basketball for the Sixers.
How tired are you?
I'm not tired enough to take it to an extreme with one of these people that say, trade him because then again, the grass is greener. I don't know about the grass being greener, but I mean,
if
we
he
make fun
misses,
of other teams for paying
if Joel Embiid misses enough of this season that we don't make the playoffs,
I know.
Is that enough? Like to just be like, man, let's sell this guy for the highest value we can get back.
The other thing too is like he's not getting any younger. He's not getting any healthier. He's not getting any more athletic. There's no, you know what I mean? So no, I'm not saying that, and I don't want to say that.
And you have Paul George. That's the kicker too.
If you are on the complete other side of what we're talking about, if you are just totally saying that is fucking asinine and that is stupid, let's just see how the year plays out. Because it very well might be. He could end up going on a run right now where he starts to play healthy, his knees healing up, they start winning, blah, blah, blah. He looks like the best player on a night-to-night basis. But like your point, hypothetically, what if he misses a lot more time this year?
Yeah.
And we don't make the playoffs? How many more excuses? How many more years can we just keep pushing it off? What are we going to say? Oh, there's next year. When Joel's healthy next year.
Right.
And if we're being,
what do you do?
Being honest,
like, is Paul George going to be healthier at 36 than he is this year? Like, you know what I mean?
Being honest,
he's playing with a brace on his knee.
This is the injury that is the biggest cause for concern. Because when you're hearing how his body's not responding well on a night-to-night basis, that is a problem for the future as well. This isn't just like, oh, he's got a fluke injury again. It'll heal up and he'll be back to his old self. We don't know if his knee is ever going to be okay again.
Right.
That's the scariest part. So you
might have to have his leg amputated.
You cannot just dismiss it, man. You can't dismiss it.
Like with our luck, that's the type of shit that happens, seriously, man. But to this point, man, like PG is about to be 35 years old, so you can't even move on from Joel Embiid without moving on from him.
Look, I would say this, man. If the Sixers were in another city, if we weren't a fan of them, we would be laughing our asses off at what this organization has done. We would be laughing at the Paul George contract right now. We'd be laughing at Caleb Martin, and we'd be laughing at the fact of all the rumors that evidently they knew about this shit with Joel's knee and still decided to max him out for 3 more years on top of the 2. You are locked in to Paul George, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Caleb. Like, this is the core.
Sure,
and we don't know if they're ever going to even play more than like 30 games together.
And we lose McCain for the whole season, man.
Yep.
My little bright spots.
Yeah, is done for the year.
Could have been rookie of the year. Like, no.
He didn't just get injured too. It's not, Jared McCain's out for 2 months. Oh man, that's such a blow. No, Jared McCain's done for the season. Yeah. So it really is a season from hell. They went 1-for-1 over. I'm just optically, man, I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting to that point. And I hate saying things like this because at the end of the day, I'm a Sixers fan and I do still love Joel. And if we look back at this in May and Joel's playing in the postseason and scoring 45, we're going to be going back being like, look how dumb I sounded. So I hate like saying anything too far, but I think we'd be silly to just keep ignoring it.
Yeah,
we really would.
Because I think now, to your point,
I ignored the red flags in Ben Simmons' game until the end of time. I ignored the red flags in Carson Wentz until the end of time. I ignored this. Yeah. This has nothing to do about his game. It has a little to do about his personality, and it has a lot to do with his availability. And that's the end of the story when it comes to Joel Embiid.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you looked back right now at what we said in September about this team, we would look like assholes as well. So it doesn't matter. Like, they're just not performing at the level that they're supposed to. They've been paid contracts that says they should be performing at a higher level. So I don't think we're wrong for having those expectations at first. And I don't think we're wrong right now for what we're seeing put onto the floor,
No,
the decisions that are
right.
being made on a night-to-night basis. He sat out against the Cavs instead of sitting out against the Hornets. I was about to say
choice.
basically the same.
A choice.
A choice.
A decision was made.
That is a decision that was made by, whether it's Embiid, the Sixers. I don't care at this point. Yeah, it's always happening, and that's the point.
Listen, if he doesn't have 100% say, he has 80% say in that decision. So yeah, it's disgusting, and you're staring down the barrel of a team that has multiple max contracts with 3 stars who might be sellers at the deadline. Think about that.
Selling Yabusele, the one guy that has like played all out this season. He plays hard. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't know, but it's just, as excited as I was for this season, this is just so Sixers. This is so Sixers, like taking it to a new level of disappointment. It's so Philadelphia 76ers. Oh my God. Just when you're like hyped as hell for Harden and Embiid, they, of course Harden has to force his way out of Philadelphia. He hates his lifelong GM, Daryl Morey. He hates him. He has to get out because it has to be the worst. Ben Simmons forgets how to shoot a basketball. Not like has a bad game in the postseason and we lose a series. Forgets how to play basketball. The worst. It goes beyond our lowest expectations. Joel's injury extent, it just goes beyond. Tobias Harris, it goes beyond.
Forgets how to shoot a basketball as well. I'll take it farther back. We trade Mikal Bridges for Zaire Smith, who then has a peanut allergy that almost kills him and can never play basketball again. The list can continue if we want, but I guess we'll get out of here, man.
Yeah. Do you think they're getting a W tonight, man? Spurs at home.
Yeah. He'll play.
Good, right?
He'll play and he'll drop 30 plus and it'll look good. I don't care. I don't, and it's not. I'm not saying I don't care because he's doing against the Spurs, and I need to see it against. I've seen Joel Embiid do whatever he wants to every single team and every single player on the face of this earth. I have questions right now about. There were rumors circulating about his want to and his will. I'm supposed to just ignore them right now?
I have questions about the intent of this organization as well.
Yeah. Wow. And watching Josh Harris on the fucking sideline yesterday.
Yeah.
As a part owner of you rat.
So gross. I don't know what I expect him to do. I guess I just expect him to not own multiple rival teams in amongst different cities. Like, I guess that's my expectation. Because, if you own the Commanders, you're excited about that game yesterday. I get it. But, dude, I don't want to shake hands with this guy. He's gross. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to meet the Sixers owner, and that's a bad thing. I wanted to meet John Middleton. I know that he wants the best for the Phillies, right? Yeah. Whereas this guy is just a fucking clown, dude. Right. But whatever.
Money talks, brother. Money certainly talks. But that's
we
going
move.
to do it. For everyone that commented today, we appreciate you guys. The hell out of you guys. Hopefully we're coming back to another Victory Monday next week. It's December 23rd. I should be feeling jolly.
We can't afford. We can't afford to not come back to a Victory Monday next Monday.
I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to start drinking my face off, and then I'm going to wake up again on Christmas and drink my face off and enjoy my family. And we're going to have a hell of a few days, and then we'll be back talking more Philly sports, be back on the Turf Talk channel. So, guys, do yourself a favor. Do us a favor. Merry Christmas to everybody out there that celebrates it. Hope you get everything that you asked for on Santa's list. And subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's what I want for Christmas, Scotty. I don't know about you, but just subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's it.
Yeah, subscribe. Share with your family. Get them to subscribe.
For DSM, have a great rest of your Monday.
Happy holidays, Brian.